Welcome to the Stage Analysis video. It's Sunday the 27th of July 2025. As always, lots to get through on the weekend video. We've got some macro events happening over the weekend which could influence the trade in the coming week, with the EU and US trade deal being announced today over the weekend. So with a 15% tariff agreed and some investment in the US, so definitely could have an impact on what happens to start the week at the very least. But some of it was already speculated about at the end of last week. We've also got earnings season coming up this week, and so we will start with Apple, which actually has earnings on the 31st, which is Thursday. So as you can see from the daily chart of Apple, been below its 200-day moving average since back in March. Washed out into the April low with the rest of the market, with a strong reversal on the tariff pause day there. So currently it's been going sideways in a range for the last three and a half months currently at the moment. So this broader, draw a broader structure across here first, you can see it started off significantly more volatile in the first half of that broader structure, but has tightened up significantly as we've got into the end of the structure here in July. So since the start of July, it hasn't been below its 50-day moving average or its 21-day moving average. But you can see the price action has tightened up significantly. We've got a range in here, only a 4% range in the last week or so. Actually had a range less than 2%, whereas earlier back in May and in April, we have a 9-10% range there, and a swing of just over 10 to 11% there. So it's tightened up significantly, a bit of volatility contraction, but it's in what we call stage 4 minus on the stage analysis site at the moment, as it's not technically in stage 1 yet. So it's but it means it's above its 50-day moving average or its 10-week moving average in stage 2. If you look at the weekly chart of that, you can see why it's very close to the 30-week moving average here. If it starts moving back above that, then this structure could potentially become stage 1. You can see that the structure, the broader structure here, as I was saying, this last 3 weeks here getting significantly tighter, with 4 weeks of relatively tight closes there. So your stage 2 levels up here in the 223 area at the moment, 222.87 currently. So like I said, it's less than 5% to the stage 2 level at the moment, with earnings due on Thursday after the close. So potential for a stage 2 breakout attempt from this base structure. You can see broadly the stage 4 breakdown area here, where it started to move lower, but has been consolidating considerably since then, with the SATA score now for the last 4 weeks on a very neutral 5 out of 10. So as you can see here, if it starts to push back through the 6 and the 7, then that would be a potential getting closer to stage 2, as these are the characteristics that we look for in stage 2. So at the moment, it's only got 5 of the 10 characteristics that we look for in our stock in stage 2, which is obviously why we consider it still it's stage 4 minus, and potentially could change to stage 1 in the coming week here. So look at it from its group perspective. Click on the sub industry. You can see the technology, hardware, and storage peripherals group has had a strong move since the April low. Go into that a little bit closer detail there. You can see it's pushing up towards its highs at the moment. So let's pull back technically here. We're in a relatively neutral space in terms of the technical attributes of the whole group, just under the 40% level there. I think 37% if we go back to the chart at the moment, 37% at the moment. So if this can start to reverse back through the 50% level, we start to move up into the stronger range. Percentage of stocks above the 30-week moving average getting close to 60% there at the moment as well. So next up is ARM Holdings. So this one's been on the radar for multiple months now, as it started to traverse through into stage 4 minus, started to turn into stage 1, and quickly moved out into stage 2 through this area in June. So it's consolidated since, got a little mini cup and handle pattern within here, volatility contraction, however you want to look at it. You can see the swings of these two are considerably lower. So it's tightened up a lot in here. We've got earnings on Wednesday after the close for this one, outperforming versus the S&P 500 above its relative strength line here. So looking for potential continuation to push it through to new highs. Again, if we go to the weekly chart on this, see it's in the semiconductors group. Something I wanted to note on the weekly chart, if we draw a structure across this whole area here, you can see it's got a classic Wyckoff structure to it, buying climax, automatic reaction, secondary testing as an up thrust here, more secondary testing and up thrust, and then a spring and a test and a strong follow through in this area. So not quite yet made a sign of strength. Got a sign of strength bar there, but we haven't pushed out to new highs. So we've got that potential jump across the creek and a small backup. So we're looking for a further follow through with this one and a push to new highs. And it's your sort of classic Wyckoff accumulation structure, which you would normally see the other way around. So would as a stage one, which then pushes up and out. But in this case, we're looking at it from the IPO level down here as it started to move out from the little IPO base, push through into the IPO advance. So this is what we call the institutional due diligence phase, where it's been going sideways. And so the fact that it's happened at this elevated level from the IPO level shows some potential strength, unless of course it starts to roll back over again, at which point if it starts to get back through that 30-week moving average and back through this 116 level particularly, that would potentially be a move down into stage 4 at that point. But as I said, at the moment, looking for a continuation move, that sign of strength rally up and out of the structure and potentially into the institutional advance phase, starting with a longer stage 2. So it is moved into stage 2 over the last month or so, but it is within this broader structure still. IBIT, so Bitcoin, continuing to look interesting since starting to move back into stage 2. So made a continuation breakout recently and then has consolidated. Ethereum has been running stronger. We'll go into that a bit later in the video when we look at the actual Bitcoin and Ethereum charts themselves. But IBIT coming up in the watch list has pulled back in towards its 21-day moving average. So looking for a little local spring type action through here. Follow through, move back towards new highs again. If we look at a weekly chart on that, so the IBIT only goes back to 2024. You need to look at the full Bitcoin chart for that. So you can see obviously been in a very strong stage 2 with multiple breaks into stage 3 a couple of times along the way. So had a little shakeout move through here, but continuing to new highs in stage 2 at the moment. So looking for, as I said, a little undercut move here and potential follow through.